yeah, me and Amanda could put our names to paper and be legally married. But if we were to, like Krista said last on
People that do like real estate, have a personal interest in like a property or something, I feel like they have the right to determine that. But when it comes to the workforce, I feel like that's just, I feel like each one of those people that they get discriminated against should file some kind of lawsuit because here it is, because of my sex doesn't change the way I perform for your company. You could be somebody at a company and say, I made you this many millions of dollars, and just because you don't like my sexual choice, you don't let me go.
yeah, and you could straight up do the lawsuit. But because that law's in place, they're going to be like, well, you don't exactly have a leg to stand on because of it.
But doesn't it depend on what level it falls up under? While there's like legislative, executive order, or
That one's hard to honestly say. Um, but it was because of a couple that got denied. Um, I don't. I want. I'm trying to remember how it all came about, but it was a lesbian couple that they were either denied adoption or they were denied marriage or something to that effect. And it wasn't legal in Michigan yet, anyway. But because they went and they fought the Michigan Supreme Court, and then it went to the Supreme Court. And you also had the cases out in California that spurned the no hate, say no to Prop 8, which was against gay marriage and all that stuff. Yeah, there you go, right there. The lesbian couple sues after foster parent applications denied. But that was Fort Worth, Texas. This one was specifically in Michigan. But either way, I mean, you could tell me tomorrow that they're going to overturn. Yeah, that's the couple right there. You could tell me tomorrow they're not going to allow me and Amanda to go marching into hell, literally marching into hell, and get married, but it's not going to change anything. I will never leave her because someone says we can't legally do it. But you can be damn well sure I'm going to fight to get it. Because I don't. It's, to me, no different than just wanting. And I'm sure a lot of people can relate out there. A lot of people from all walks of life can relate. You want to be able to go out and feel like you're treated just like everybody else, you know?
I believe that's your civil right.
You would think. But some people just, for some fucking reason, something's wrong in their own life that if someone's different from them in one way, shape, or form, be it color of skin, sexual orientation, or they like to play Magic the Gathering on weekends with their buddies, it's going to annoy them to the point where they want to shut you down and make you miserable to make them feel more superior.
Misery loves company.
Isn't that why people get married? Kidding, hon. Kidding.
Hey, but that got its perks.
True. It has a few advantages here and there. But we'll get back to marriage in just a second, or in a few beats. But the other thing that's happening next week is it just happens to be a holiday. One that's kind of, I don't want to say gone down in years, but I have seen such a weird spike, be it downward, upward, and that's Halloween. All right, now granted, this year it's taken on a very, very weird turn. Very weird turn. You got some places that are going to say, okay, we're not going to allow trick-or-treating. I think California is one of the states that does. You've got more trunk-or-treat places. Some people say they're not going to hand out candy this year. Now, I bought 2 big bags of candy just because. I was going to share it with like some of my coworkers. But I want to say even before 2020, you had, at least in my neighborhood, I can't speak for other neighborhoods, but in my neighborhood, a steady decline. I mean, I remember getting home from school, jumping into my costume, asking my mom if it was too early to go trick-or-treating with my sister and my brother and my friends, and basically just be like, can we go? And that was like 4:30, 5 o'clock. And we would be out trick-or-treating, going on marathon hikes from 5 o'clock till probably 9:30, But in my neighborhood now, when I first moved there, we set it up. We let people know we were open for business. We were here to give out candy as much as they wanted. Hell, some of the kids loved coming near the end of the night when we wanted to close shop, because I would be like, look up and down, see if there are any more trick-or-treaters. I'm like, it's your lucky day, and dump the whole bag into their pillowcase. And they look like they hit the fucking lottery. But now, especially if it rains, like it has periodically for the last few Halloweens, you hardly see anybody. I mean, yeah, you'll get your rushes where you'll get like maybe 5 kids here and there, and then another 2 and whatever. And that's usually, I want to say, between 6:30 and 7:30. But it usually doesn't warrant the purchase of all the fucking candy. That by the end, you're dumping literally mounds of candy into the last kid's bag because you don't want it around your house. Unless it's my house, and then you've already picked which ones you want to keep, and neither here nor there.
Give me all the chocolate bars.
Oh, I'm more of like put the peanut M&Ms to the side now, or I think if I have to have a candy bar, and this is gonna sound weird, the Heath bar.
Heath bars are actually not that bad.
I love those things.
I like the whatchamacallit.
Now, what I know we're straying, but I kind of like where this is going. Whatchamacallits, aren't they like, I don't want to say wafer-like. I know they have nuts and caramel, but...
It's kind of like a chocolate wafer, a thicker wafer of a good quality with a little nougat.
Yeah. I think I've had them on occasion. They usually don't come in those large things you get like at your Costco's for some reason.
Nah, those are you have to go strictly to a liquor store or somewhere like that.
Well, you can go to just trying to rattle off some stores here, like a Meijer, or if you're in the Midwest, a Meijer, Kroger. Trying to think of some other ones, because I won't say the one because I hate that store with a passion. But you can find some of the other like whatchamacallits in like I want to say a variety bag, but other than a Costco and a Sam's Club, those things are fucking expensive. For just like a 150 count or less bag, you're spending $13 for that?
Well, honestly,
seems excessive. I mean, especially if you're the one who's going to be eating most of them before the kids arrive.
Yeah, and that's me. I'm the person that I go through it. If there's Reese cups, I'm a chocolate person. So when I do have to eat candy, which is Halloween time,
right,
I have to eat it. It's Snickers. The only thing outside of chocolate that I really love and it tops all is Paydays.
You're the second person to say that, but Payday's covered in chocolate though.
No, those are the Baby Ruths.
Are you sure? Because I could swear
Paydays are the nuts outside of the car.
Oh, you're right. I was just trying to think of what they look like. But as much as I love a Payday, the one thing that always, pardon the pun, drove me nuts about them is when you're taking off the wrapper and you got the errant nut that falls off the bar.
Yeah. Those be the best tasting ones though.
Oh yeah. Since you already alluded, you love the chocolate bar.
Yeah.
Let's go back to when Cortez was just a little itty bitty guy going out trick-or-treating. Okay. What was the one that you hated to get the most?
Candy or just chocolate bar?
Candy bar. And then we'll do otherwise. Because if you're big on the chocolate bar, there's got to be one you kind of was like, oh, man.
You know what? It's funny because at one point in time, I was buying them the regular size bars, but I hated them in the mini size. And it would be the Three Musketeer bar. I didn't really care for it once it came to be about many times. It just didn't fit with the chocolate taste of candy bars. It had more of a, I don't know, it was just, the insides were just too mushy. You know, you
weren't they, I want to say similar to that of like a Milky Way in a way?
The Milky Ways are better because it's caramel. It's a caramel filler.
Right.
That I'm used to. Like, I like caramello bars. Those are the little squares with, you bite into it, it pretty much pours caramel. Now I'll eat those. But nah. Three Musketeers, it's almost like nougat, but the consistency of it is not like if you was able to ground up Laffy Taffy.
Oh God.
That's kind of what the feeling is.
Oh God. Yeah, and going off track, and we'll come back to candy, but it kind of reminds me, a coworker brought in the other day little individual bags of chestnuts. Now I've only tried chestnuts one other time. Didn't really care for them, but I didn't want to hurt her feelings either. But I missed the part where she said, "Here, you take this. This is horrible." Missed that part. So I take it. No one's around. I open the bag, and it was the worst smell I think I've ever had in my life. But I'm like, no, I don't want to hurt her feelings. I don't want to hurt her feelings. I'm going to fucking do this. Pop it in my mouth, and the consistency of that is, have you ever like taken it off of a garden vine, fresh off, and just ate it?
I haven't.
Okay. Hard to explain. But it was like eating a fresh bean off of the vine, but without the enjoyment. It might not, it just takes something that you enjoy fresh and suck all the enjoyment out of it. And that's exactly what it was like. But the more you eat it, the more it kind of goes, okay, well, maybe it's not so bad. It's that initial shock, if you will, that it basically will get you. But going to candy bars, okay, so yours was the Three Musketeer.
Three Musketeer.
Fun size, right?
Well, I would say I'm both. If we're talking today, both of them, they're just not there. I just feel like a lot of these candies too have changed recipes over the years.
They kind of did, yeah.
I love those Weathers caramels, the soft chews.
I like having those if I got a sore throat. They call it old people candy. I call it my throat feels a little sore, and I'm gonna have one of those because some of those halls are like, ugh, no, thank you.
But yeah, Three Musketeers. That's where I kind of draw the line. Like,
so if it's not a candy bar, what was the worst one you got?
Jawbreakers. Like, what's the fun in jawbreakers? Like, break your teeth and you got to work too hard.
Well, it's not just that. Depending on the size, what I know this is going to sound wrong. I'm almost expecting Chris Hansen to come through that door and go, Dawn, why don't you have a seat? But to me, some candies were preparing you for sex. Jawbreaker is one of them because depending on the size, you can't exactly fit that fucking thing in your mouth.
Sure enough.
So you're there as a child licking a ball in front of some God knows who, and they're probably getting their rocks off, and you don't even fucking know it. And then you got other things like, I don't think they make this anymore. So I'm going to be dating myself here, but Jules candy. It was like a gum that you bit into and it shot goo in your mouth. Gee, what would that remind you of anything about?
You know what? I've had that before. They used to have, I don't know if you remember this place, but it used to be a kid indoor amusement called Sharky's.
Oh, I remember it.
Sharky's had this little vending machine with the claw where you put a quarter in and you fight for a claw and he grabs you a crap load of candy. Something similar to that. I ate it. it caught me off guard because not only did it shoot the juice into my mouth, it had a fizz to it.
Oh God.
So I was like, what is this? And to this day, anything that has anything similar to that taste, I would not go back to.
Yeah, because it just triggers something in your head.
It did. And at that time, I was too young to really know too much about sex, but I still felt like, okay, this is
I've just been violated.
pretty much. And then it's like, you can't spit because ever since I was a kid, they say spitters are quitters. And there's always some idiot right there to say that. So it's like, okay.
Mine, and this was a kind of like there was the top three, one above all of them. But if I got the black licorice, good and plenties,
Ooh.
I would give them to my brother. Hated those things, and of course now you got Goldenschlager, which tastes exactly like it.
What is it?
Not Goldenschlager's, my bad. I'm gonna hear it from my cousin when I finally own up to what it is. Not Goldenschlager. Oh my God. And now I'm drawing a fucking blank. I know it goes into a Jaeger bomb. It's a Jaeger.
Oh yeah, it tastes okay.
Jaeger. I hated those, but the top two, getting a toothbrush. Yeah. You knew who the dentist was because you'd get a toothbrush and you'd kind of look and go, for real? And they're like, we'll see you in about 3 months.
Hey, at this age, I'm appreciative. Pass me.
Oh yeah, I'm very appreciative. Yeah, I mean, when you get older, you think of these things. But the worst one, and again, y'all can believe what you want, and if it gets you through the day, that's fine. But as a kid growing up, I hated getting the religious comic book. Exactly. That was always such a you didn't want to be mean about it because my mom raised me to be a little bit better than that. You say thank you, but you just look at it, and I'd still read it, but I'd look and go, Kit Kats are better, fling. But I hated getting those, and the masochistic either it was masochistic or just forgetfulness. But we would hit the same house that gave it every single fucking year. Like we were doing the complete definition of insanity. We went back expecting a different result.
They worked on their neighbors down the block. Was like, here, read this. They did it all year long. So trust me, somebody else probably passed it off to you.
Just be like,
This came from that lady house.
No one wants our literature while we're handing it out every year. I know. We'll save it for Halloween and just give it to kids. That way we don't have to buy candy.
Yeah, where my parents stay, there's this car, and I do it to myself every time. Like, I'm one of them people, I drive my car until it's on E. Mm-hmm. And like today, it happened before I got here. That's what kind of brought me in the first few minutes before the show. I'm sitting there, I'm going to pay for gas, to be fast. I was like, let me get 6 on my pump and let me get a Lucy, basically. Mm-hmm. While I'm doing that, this whole time the car is sitting there next to, on the other side of the pump. I get finished to hang up the pump. Here comes a Jehovah's Witness.
Oh boy.
I don't have a problem talking to the witness, but why did you wait till I got done with my gas to come talk to me?
Yeah, because usually I've only been approached once while pumping gas, and they do it as soon as you put the nozzle in because they know you're not going anywhere.
That's what it would have made sense that way.
But yeah, to have them as soon as you put the nozzle back, hi, do you have a few more? Oh, fuck. I guess I do. And going on the same thread of that, I got to give them props. I really do got to give them props. Because sometimes they approach people wearing some of the most questionable outfit. Like one time I was approached, I'm wearing, no joke, a shirt with Jason Voorhees' bloody mask that says WWJD. What would Jason do? And I'm thinking this would be a turnoff from anyone wanting to approach me religiously.
I would think so.
Not these guys. Oh no, that was a recruitment day. And they spent a good, and like you, I'm not going to be rude, but at the same token, I'm kind of like giving them a look of, wrap it up, give me the watchtower, and we'll be on my happy way. But the whole time I'm just looking, I'm like, do you not see I have certain interests that might be questionable in joining your flock too? I mean, do you allow people that love horror films and their favorite character is a serial killer? I mean, this doesn't sound like a good recruitment drive option.
See, where I'm at in religion now is just like, not to be, I have those days where I am pretty rude. Like, if you come to my house 3 weekends in a row and I keep telling you I'm not interested, but you keep forcing it,
Yep.
I'm gonna say, you smoke. I'm like, come on in, let's smoke a blunt. I'm gonna say anything that's gonna turn you off, that you feel like you're gonna be uncomfortable. But like, if I'm out and about, approach me. You never know what you can learn from somebody's take, and that conversation may go somewhere else that's not even religious intended. So I don't know. I got mixed feelings about that. Like, you can talk to me, but be reasonable when you do it. Like, if I'm pumping gas, do it at the start of me pumping gas.
Right.
Don't come to me when I'm ready to go. I'm agitated.
I will tell you this. It was unintentional. It really was. But one of the best stories, it got around to the Mormons not to come down this block, because they happened to come down one particular Saturday when it was Michigan playing I forget who. And it was me, Amanda, my sister, and my brother-in-law. We were all sitting in the living room watching the game, when all of a sudden, ding, ding, I go, and Amanda, who, she loves my interest, but she's not big on football. She really could care less. I said, Amanda, could you get that, watching the game here? And she goes, yeah, not a problem. She opens the door, and there are two guys from the Mormon church. You know them when you see them.
Oh yeah, that all black outfit.
well, it's black pants, white shirt, black tie.
I just call it all black because it just scared me.
It always makes me think, like, are you here to give us a quote on our insurance? But she's kind of got an inward, like, oh fuck, because she's atheist. Okay, she doesn't want to discuss religion really. She's willing to talk, but it's not high on her list. So she kind of steps onto the porch just a little bit, and they start giving her the speech. When all of a sudden, this one play happens, and Michigan tosses an interception to the opposing team, and the guy's running it back to the end zone, and I lost it. And just as I said something to her, I said something to the effect of, Jesus motherfucking Christ, I have to go out there and goddamn show you how to fucking do it myself. And her response was, they looked at her, looked at each other, looked back at the door, took a huge step back, and went, we see you're busy. We'll come back maybe another time. And they never came back.
Hey, that's all it takes. When you get in that collegiate sports, that's a whole different ball game than the NFL and the NBA. Like, well, collegiate sports is you in it.
Oh, you in it, but the thing is of course you got to compare it a different way than pros, because we have been so afflicted by the same old Lions mentality that there's really no surprises. If they win, we're more shocked than anything.
See, me personally, I'm still a Lions fan. I still root for them every year, but we still need to get rid of Stafford.
I think they put too much investment in him to let him go.
Way too much. He invested too much time in the daughter.
Yeah.
I mean, me personally, don't get me wrong, he's not a bad quarterback when it comes to his arm. He never gets out of pocket. Like, now he's starting to do that sidearm throw, and I believe he threw Calvin Johnson into early retirement, because he used his star players. He did the same thing with Golden Tate. I'm sure Golden Tate got tired of being a star player for a losing team.
Right.
We went and got Reggie Bush. He did nothing but drop the ball for us. So you don't know how to get it to anybody who can't come to the ball. You don't know how to put the ball there. They got to come to the ball.
Right.
And that's just been my problem. Like, since Charlie Batch, I stopped liking any quarterback that the Lions have. Like,
Yeah, I don't think I've actively liked a quarterback that the Lions ever had since Hipple. And even then, that was questionable.
yeah, so it's like we've always needed an offensive line.
Yep.
Always. Like, stop firing these coaches. You should have kept Caldwell. That was your best hope. You know, you went after Matt Patricia, and he's got his own stuff going on. So it's like, come on. Y'all was mad because Sue was costing y'all a couple dollars for penalties. He was the best offensive and defensive player you had next to Louis Dallas.
Hey, don't look at me. I liked Ndamukong Suh.
Hey,
He may not have liked Detroit, but I liked him.
hey, he ain't do nothing for me when he went over to Miami, but when he was here, he had me feeling like we had heart. Stepping on people's ankles.
Or which Green Bay player was it that he got up and he just did a stomp on the chest? Which I was just like, dude, really? That is a dumb penalty. But
Who was it?
I don't think it was.
Was it Rodgers?
I don't think I want to say it
I
was.
know he did it to Rodgers' ankle.
Yeah, he did it to the ankle, but I don't think he stomped on Rodgers' chest because they really would have had his ass.
Oh yeah, he would have been out of there.
But
yeah, the Lions are they're there. We're just lucky to have a team still.
yeah, we really are. I know I'm gonna get a lot of hate, but I'm still more of a Bears fan than a Lions fan. But hey, look at them right now. They're not exactly much better than the Lions.
Shout out Trubinsky, but him and Cutler were two pretty good quarterbacks for the Bears. That's one thing I can say. They had some solidified quarterbacks, but I just never liked them, and it wasn't a rivalry thing. It was just, I don't know. I just felt like their lineups never matched.
They only matched a couple of times, and it's almost like literally like watching the Tigers play. Lightning has to strike at just the right year for them to actually have something that works.
Yeah.
But it's few and far between. You just got to be like patient and wait. So I honestly, like I said, when it comes to NFL, I am so passive aggressive watching it. I use that as an excuse to take naps. But
I use the debate for that.
well, we're going to get to that. We're going to get to that. I said I wasn't going to talk politics this week, but you know what? I saw how passionate one person was talking about voting to the point where he's losing his voice. That I'm like, I can at least spare at least 20 minutes. But with college, I had to really change my tone because I was that major surgery I was telling you about?
Yeah.
You know what day I was released from the hospital?
Where?
Michigan State game. And I at the time, I'm still a Michigan fan.
Taking off.
The doctor's like, she'll be fine. What's the worst that can happen? It's like, you don't know me very well, do you? But I was already threatened by Amanda during the discharge. She's like, look, you are, because when she came to get me with her mom, the game was just about to start. And she looks at me while we're waiting for her mom to come up with the nurse in the wheelchair. She goes, listen, I'll let you watch the game, but the minute you start getting out of hand, I'm going to take that remote away from you and you can't get me. And I'm like, I'll behave. Little would I know that freaking Bobby Lee on Mad TV would make me laugh so hard to sob hysterically from the pain. So it had Michigan State had nothing to do with that. And here's another thing. When we get married next week, it's Michigan State.
Right.
At the same time, we're taking our vows. That's love right there.
You team blue? I see it.
I am blue all the way. But I have gotten better over the years, though. Because I used to be that one that all you had to do was say something disparaging about Michigan, and I would light you up. And God forbid you were a State fan. Blue and yellow. No, blue and yellow make green. I'm like, yeah, but you know what is gangrene? Sparty. But I am not like that anymore. I try to stay away from it as much as possible. Even when people try to engage me, I'm like, nope, you're not going to get me. You want to know why? I was at the Big House during the Michigan-Appalachian State game. If that doesn't teach you humbling, nothing will. Nothing. because it was my niece's first Michigan game. She was looking forward to it, and they lost to an underdog team. And even from where we were sitting, and I'm not claiming to be Vince Lombardi, knowing football plays and all that stuff, but even I could see they kept running the same plays. Appalachian State caught on to it, and they exposed Michigan at the time. I think they were under Lloyd Carr. They exposed the fact that they could run up the middle and not be stopped. And I lost my shit. I felt so soul crushed and realized if I'm getting this emotional over a silly football game, I need to step the fuck back.
I don't know. I mean, it shows you your competitive edge, and it shows that when you invest it all. Like,
to the point where I wanted to flip every car that had an Appalachian State sticker and punch them in the face. That's dangerous.
I played some of my pro football, so I've been on those fields. Like when we won our championship, when I'm telling you through that game, we cried, we bled. Like when they say blood, sweat, and tears, that particular time, I found out exactly what that meant. So I can see how fans get in it because the people on the field, when you're that invested into all the hard work you put in and the hours that you're hurting, from just recovery, you're practicing 5-6 days out the week. You got a game almost every week with maybe 1 or 2 bye weeks. When you're doing this consecutively and you're doing it for a total of 16 or more games, I can see why some of these fans get invested because this is somebody that you're watching grow into something bigger. You're actually watching the growth of someone's career in front of you.
Right.
And whether that means nothing to the average person, and it means so much more once they get to their achievement. Because to this day, I'd be geeked like I know the Jabberwockies. I'm like, I watched them when they got on ABDC, the American Best Dance Crew. And here it is. They headline the halftime shows at the NBA Finals and all this other stuff. So it's like,
and I can understand that and agree with it, but there is a certain limit to fandom. Because I also remember another game. Me and my sister we didn't have to. She signed up. I decided to do it with her. But it was the second time we decided to do the half marathon for the Detroit Free Press half marathon. And as we're walking in Canada, mind you, this is the day after the Michigan State game where Michigan lost it by trying to do a punt that backfired and Michigan State ran it back to score. And then you find out that fans on both sides were acting so they're acting like assholes. And they were very unapologetic about it. But it was so bad that the Michigan fans were threatening death on the punter because he made a mistake. The Michigan State fans were saying things almost equally atrocious and getting all bent out of shape if you, God forbid, point out the fact that they got lucky. And I just finally, and mind you, I'm walking with a hurt foot. I'm on mile, I think, 7 or 8, so it was hurting. And I just got so fed up listening to these two Spartans going on and on and on about, we didn't get lucky. We were playing like we were on fire. We never gave up. And more kudos. The Michigan State players didn't, but they're talking like they were on the field and they never gave up. And da da da. And I turned around finally, and here's my sister saw it come. She was like, "Dawn, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. No, don't." But I turned around and went, "Listen. Both teams gave a very hard effort on the field. You have a poor kid right now who's getting death threats from fans like you because he made an honest mistake and he probably feels worse than any of you fuckers could possibly make him feel right now. And you guys won't acknowledge the fact that you got fucking lucky? Are you fucking serious? Shut the fuck up!" And they just kind of look at me and see that I have the I'm not about to fuck around face. And they're just, you know what? We're just going to call a mulligan on this one. We're going to agree to disagree. And they just they for some reason found the strength to go faster. Meanwhile, I'm just limping, motherfucking assholes. But the point is that it's one thing to be passionate about your team. It is one thing. You can be passionate all you want. And I acknowledge this bad part about myself is sometimes the fandom will get a little out of hand. And when it does, you got to kind of take a step back and realize, is this something worth, monopolizing your life? There are people out there that will live, bleed, and die for this shit. But when they talk as if they were one of those men on the field and putting in the effort, yeah, a fan does feed into the team a little bit with the cheers. But when they get toxic, I think it sucks all the fun out of it.
Yeah, but like you can you can attest to it, but that energy inside them walls is it's just a whole different realm. It's like when you walk into one of them stadiums, whether a fan or as a player, it's like the whole atmosphere changes. Like the energy is different. Like I've lost sight of who I was a few times when I went to Western. Like every year, I knew we would not beat Central. Central Michigan handles our ass every year. The first 2008 when I came on as a red shirt walk on, Lewis Delmas was still with us. Him and this guy named Brandon West. Brandon West was a running back. Most humble guy that you will ever meet outside those walls. But when I tell you it's game time, he's punching lockers. He's punting football just for the heck of it. Like
psyching himself up.
Yeah, it's just something. It's something about once you inside the walls and all that different energy is there. You feel like you're here for a reason. And and like you said, some people do get carried away with it, but I think it's passionate. Like you said, certain people don't talk about certain things because of the reactions. I feel like everybody who comes to these games should have a mutual understanding. Oh, I'm invested in this. Either this is my home team, I actively go to this school, and something like a Big Ten, like a Michigan, it's nothing but college kids all throughout here. So a lot of drunk alcoholics and passion mixed with it.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. You're looking at 9/11 inside the building.
Oh, God. It makes me think of this one time I went with a friend of mine. It's the only time I've ever went to Michigan versus Ohio State.
Oh, God. I would love to go to one of those.
Well, I got to sit in the student section. And I've never felt bad for an Ohio State Buckeye fan ever, except for this one moment. He sat in the middle of the Michigan student section. How he got there, I have no idea. But this poor bastard, whether it was bravery or stupidity, sat down with his Buckeye jersey on, and through 4 quarters of play and halftime. And this was when they started doing the whole thing with the marshmallows. I don't know if you remember that because they stopped doing it.
I knew they was throwing a bunch of stuff on the field once upon a time.
Well, this was marshmallows. And they asked the fans at one point to stop because it somehow got on the field and players were getting it in their cleats and it was hard to, scrape it out. But this was at the height of it. And it was the very last game of the regular season. And this bastard, there was not one marshmallow that landed on the field because they were all aiming at him. And every student, save for maybe 5 plus myself and my friend, because, we didn't know we were supposed to bring marshmallows. No one told us. But he was literally 2 bags worth of marshmallows from every student that was in that section. I'm surprised there wasn't a mountain of marshmallow in one seat.
See, now we had a similar situation in the Broncos stadium, but honestly, that just be that individual that be prided up. you know, he just going with their team. I mean, I don't know that particular scenario, but I know in most cases, like when we went against the Northwestern Huskies or we went against Central, we would always have like one or two people just oddly like fully geared in the opposite team in our section, like just yelling back and forth at the crowd.
Yeah, and you know, I think in some essences, because I've seen movies where you got the, and I'm not saying that that's what these people were, but you got the outcasts of the school saying, you know, we're going to go sit in the opposite team's section so we can boo their team in their own section.
That's dangerous.
Exactly.
That's dangerous.
And I'm thinking, well, maybe that's what they're doing. They're trolling, but that's very dangerous, especially like you said, you got drunk students and all that other stuff. This guy was lucky. They were just throwing marshmallows. Because I think, because this guy was, if I remember correctly, he wasn't student age. He was like almost senior citizen age. So I think that he was lucky that marshmallows was all that was thrown at him. But going back to Halloween, even though football I love talking about to a certain degree, because you know you got the first Michigan game tonight, and I'm like, it's at 6:00. Why so late?
Who playing on Halloween though?
Who playing on Halloween?
Yeah.
Michigan and oh my God, who are they playing?
Wait, that's Michigan and Michigan State, right?
No, Michigan. Yeah, Michigan State's Halloween. I thought you meant tonight. And by the way, Amanda wanted me to tell you they do make a chocolate covered payday, but she thinks they're new.
They gotta be, but don't change the recipe. Do not change the recipe.
Kind of like, look, I know you guys wanted to, cancel Coke, but this new Coke thing sucks. But that's a long time ago.
Wait,
long time ago.
You said new Coke?
How old are you, sir?
I am 31.
Okay, then you should know this a little bit. But then again, you might have been like maybe 2, maybe 3 when they did this.
You're talking about the original recipe.
Yeah, and they decided to get rid of it, and they brought in new Coke, and people are like, "Are you fucking crazy?"
Glass bottle Kool-Aid.
Yeah, pretty much. But I'm not sure who else is playing on Halloween, but
Michigan is all that matters. I got to catch up on my sports, like with all this that's going on and work. I haven't really looked at TV. Everything's been Netflix, Hulu, and all the above. That's how it's going.
Yeah. I've been all YouTube, Shudder, occasional Netflix. I might go back to Hulu for a little bit because they're rebooting Animaniacs, which I'm like, serious? I am dead serious.
That's my show, Pinky and the Brain.
Yep, they're rebooting it. I don't know if it's the same voices. One of them sounds a little different, but
I don't know. I don't think it's not gonna be as good as it was though.
If they have the same writers.
Is it still on the Warner?
Yeah. If they have the same writers that they did back in the day, I think they can take modern times and make them relevant. Because they already hinted at Tinder. But how to make that, I mean, I'm hoping in some ways they don't make that kid friendly. Make it as adult friendly as you can.
With the generation. It can be remade for the kids.
Right.
It's a whole different cartoon out here.
And I don't know if they're going to include all of them, but I know for a fact it's going to be the Animaniacs as far as the Warner Brothers and the Warner sister and Pinky and the Brain. I don't know if they're bringing back the Good Feathers. I don't know if they're bringing back Mindy and Buttons, Katie Kaboom, Good Idea, Bad Idea. I don't know if they're bringing any of that back, but it's going to be at least those characters.
But I was going to say, they can't do Animaniacs without Pinky and the Brain.
Nope.
They have to be there. Because that little segue to their little sections, that just kind of set the show off.
What are we going to do today, Brian? But yeah, I might go back for that. But lately, throughout the month of October, going back to Halloween briefly, me and Amanda have a tradition. Every night in the month of October, we watch something horror related. Doesn't necessarily have to be Halloween related, but horror related. And last night they had on Shudder Joe Bob Briggs, who used to do hosting of like grindhouse B movies type style movies on the movie channel back in the day. And then he had Monster Vision on TNT. And then now he's got The Last Drive-In on Shudder. Really good program. Funny as hell. Got a hot looking male girl. Her name's Darcy. You need Google that.
Oh,
Google
yeah, I
that.
remember what you was, not when you said
Oh,
that.
yeah. And it's just all around funny. And they paid a little homage last night at the very end to Friday the 13th, even though they weren't showing any Halloween movies, no Nightmare on Elm Street movies, no Friday the 13th movies. These were movies that I honestly never heard about. Yeah, her. Definitely. And my fiance doesn't care that I did that because she thinks she's equally hot too. But basically, they showed this one movie called Haunt, which was about a group of kids who go into an extreme haunted house. And turns out it was just basically trapped to, murder them all. Gee, who didn't see that coming? And then the other one, oh God, I hate to admit it, but I fell asleep. And I didn't wake up until, I want to say, midway through. But to me, I'm watching this going, after waking up, mind you, am I still dreaming or is this some fucked up bullshit? Like, what the hell am I watching? But there's basically a lot of horror movies that we watch. And we're trying to make a concerted effort to watch movies we normally don't watch. Like, we will go with classics. And when I mean classics, I don't mean just Dracula, Frankenstein, Wolfman type classics. I'm talking like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the original Halloween, any Friday the 13th, classic staples in the horror genre.
So would you, even though I know it's not horror, but when you think Final Destination will fall?
Actually, I think it does, because much like when me and Krista were going back and forth about genres, she says Silence of the Lambs does not fall in the horror genre. I beg to differ. I think it does. It is more of a thriller, but thrillers are in that genre of horror.
Yeah.
Because if you,
a suspense.
It's a suspense / thriller, because you have a guy that skins women, sews them together for a suit that comes straight out of Ed Gein. And you have a guy whose brain, pardon the pun you're picking, who's a cannibal. In what way does this signal rom-com? I mean, it's not your normal typical, suspense. But with me though, and Silence of the Lambs is one of those movies we go to. But Final Destination, I say it does fall under it. I don't think we've watched them all.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't think we've watched any of them in the last few years though.
Okay.
But we were talking about possibly watching not Pandemic. That's too close to home. Birdemic. When I tell you, dude, you will want to seek every edible, organic thing that you can find that'll probably help you make sense of it. I've never seen it, but I've heard enough to know it's stupid. But it's infamous for its stupidity. It's basically, you've heard of like the worst movies ever made.
I've heard of it.
This is on there. This is one of those, it's so bad, it's good movies. Like a few years, I think last year, as a matter of fact, now that I think about it, was the first time I've ever seen Troll 2, which had nothing to do with the original Troll.
I haven't seen them.
If you ever
want...
want...
about the animated movie, right?
No, this is not animated.
Oh.
This is not animated.
I've never even heard of it then.
It has an infamous scene where the guy's like, they're eating her, and then they're going to eat me. Oh my God! Literally, that's how he comes across. You just sit there and go, wow. Acting!
No, I get it. There are a lot of movies out there that are just so dumb that you just love them. Like to this day, a classic for like my culture would be something called like Pootie Tang.
I've heard of it.
Stupidest movie in the world. But we thought this guy was a badass because he go around just beating, he just whoop people ass with his belt. Like the whole movie, like he's like the black superhero, but he's doing it with a belt. It's so stupid that you gotta watch it like over and over.
Well, there's oh god, there are so many like that though, especially in the horror genre. To be fair, I'm trying to think of some of the so bad they're good that you have to watch them. Troll 2 is one of them where you know that a lot of them were doing this seriously, but it came across so bad that you can't take it seriously. But you can't turn away. But another one that knew it was not good, was very self-aware it was not good, but it became so goddamn popular it spurned 5 sequels. Sharknado.
You know what? I attempted to go back and watch one Sharknado. Don't know which one it was, but it's some of the stupidest stuff ever. I couldn't get into it because one of the girls at work was like, I just sat here and watched Sharknado 5. I'm like, Sharknado what? Because like horror for me is not just like the scary movie,
Right.
but those real life movies that can happen, like Twister, Dante's Peak, stuff like like the Twister stuff. That's what I would consider something like that horrific,
Right.
But nah.
Yeah, the original Sharknado. I mean, every subsequent one after the second one. I don't think I've seen Sharknado 3, 4, or 5. I saw the second one only because it had Tiffany Shepis in it, and I love her.
Mm-hmm.
She is outstanding. But the first one I watched without Amanda, and I'm like, I stumbled on it on accident, and the entire time I'm watching this, literally with my hand on my cheek, just what the fuck? The first thing that popped in my head is, you know who needs to see this? Amanda needs to see this. So I looked up to see when it was going to be on next on Sci-Fi, and I'm like, okay. And I even set up my camera to the tail end when the whole movie is just the most unbelievable shit happens. But it's the climax at the end. And I hate to say spoiler alert because, there might be somebody out there that hasn't seen it and they'll be like, well, thanks for ruining Sharknado for me, asshole. But there's a moment where first this one woman falls out of a helicopter into the waiting mouth of a flying shark. Gee, you think she's dead? Let's not ruin it yet. Because if you go by just time, the point that scene happens, and I get it, you're seeing one scene that might be happening at one time and another scene that might be happening at another time. Okay, I get that. But even if you just go off of that, a person can sustain themselves without oxygen for so long. Okay? So keep that in your head. So now you get to the hero. And he gets himself a chainsaw. And he fires that baby up and he whips it up like he's playing the fucking hell out of an electric guitar during a Motley Crue concert. And he's like, yeah! And here comes a shark coming right over me, splits it in two. And then he sees the shark that swallowed this woman whole and he charges her, chainsaw first. All right, let's look at physics before we continue. He goes chainsaw first into the mouth of the shark that has the girl that's in its belly. And he's going chainsaw first. The odds of him missing the girl are staggering, let alone if she's alive or not. So he gets inside. Sharkland's dead. Everyone's like, oh, it's so horrible. He died a hero. Sniffle, sniffle, sniffle. And all of a sudden you see, and he comes out with the girl, still alive. Credit. And I'm watching Amanda's face during the whole thing, and she gets this look on her face that just, it's what I was waiting for. Her jaw just opens slightly. She gets this look on her face, and when the moment of total disbelief crosses her brain, her eyebrow shoots straight up to the moon. And I'm like, score. But yeah, it's so bad. It is kind of good, but I don't recommend watching these types of movies without an alcoholic beverage.
I was gonna say you gotta be inebriated some kind of way.
Totally. Or if you're a person that's into the, shall we say, more recreational activity, something like that. It might make it a hella more enjoyable.
Hey, I'm down for it.
But yeah, there's just certain movies you have to watch during Halloween, but we watch them every year. I don't want to get tired of them. So that's why we try to steer away. One of the ones, I've seen it, she didn't, even though we watch Joe Bob Drive-In whenever it's playing. It was on there, but she fell asleep. I stayed awake, watched it, and was just like, this is the most fucked up movie I think I've ever seen. And it's called Society. And Society is about a young man who's growing up in a house that he feels he doesn't quite belong to. You know, his sister's really, you know, beautiful and popular and loved by the parents. The parents don't really seem to give a shit about him. And even though he's popular at school, he's not part of the in crowd, so to speak. And you find out that the rich people are actually for lack of better words, because they make it, he says, the character says that they're aliens. But even they say, we're not aliens, we're just a more evolved species of human. But they have this thing called the shunting. How to describe the shunting? Picture a bunch of middle-aged white people, slimy and molded together, writhing. And you'll have an inkling of what the shunting is. It's very, very... And their noses and mouths extend and mold onto their victim that they're sucking the life out of, and they kind of like all come together, literally and figuratively, come together and, you know, have this big old slimy sex orgy that you thankfully don't see anything, but you see just enough to have your brain go, I want to die now. But yeah, it's one of those fucked up kinds of movies. Not a lot of bloodshed, technically. There is the one moment where the one, I guess you could say bad guy, he finally figures out how to beat him by shoving his fist up his ass and pulling him inside out. You don't really see the fist go up the ass, but you know. It's called Society.
I'm gonna go watch that tonight.
Oh, it is. I'm telling you, make sure you have the
I got it.
you have the game snacks ready, because it's one of those that I think you need one. I went in there cold, pardon the expression, but I'm just like, the fuck is this shit?
Man, that's crazy. I'm gonna definitely go watch that.
If you get through it, let me know. But I'm trying to think some other movies that I want to put on the playlist. I want to do some of the classics that we usually go with. Like we watched the Addams Family 1991 version a few nights ago.
You know what? I want to watch the Addams Family. That and Beetlejuice, the originals.
Yeah.
I haven't seen them in
we watched that Beetlejuice recently too.
Oh, there you go. And
I even told Amanda, if you think during our ceremony, when they look at me and say, do you take her to be your lawfully wedded wife? I'm not going to stop, look at the live feed with my sister in the camera and go, I don't know, this is a big decision. I said if I was ever going to do it, it was only going to be once, and this seems to be it. I do. you know, I'm just gonna pull that one out of my ass, I guess. But
See, y'all, I like how y'all watch movies because you guys are kind of like connoisseurs when it comes to the movies. With me watching movies, I got to make sure I'm with the right people because if you're watching a movie with somebody who's not open minded or
yeah,
just got some weirdness to them, you will never
dude,
enjoy a horror movie.
you have no idea how fucking true that sentence is. Because long before I met Amanda, I was with this other woman, and she invited some of her friends over, and we were going to carve pumpkins. And she said, "You're into horror?" I'm like, "Yeah." She goes, "Why don't you pick the movie and we'll watch it while we're carving pumpkins?" I picked the original Fright Night. And I swear to you, my ever-loving supporting girlfriend at the time, the minute the movie was over, went, "Yeah, great movie. Stupid." And I'm just looking at her going, are you serious? Are you fucking serious? What movie did you want me to pop in? Charlie Brown's Halloween? Well, I woulda. I like that too.
I don't know. I'm more to like the newer style of like horror movies. Like Stay Alive was like a really good movie for me. Where, you know, they're playing a video game and when they go to pause the game or stop playing it, it continues to play on its own. And it puts them in it's like this lady from the dead who rides on a black horse and chariot. You know, the only way to stop her is to throw a black rose or throw a rose in front of her. But I'll play you the trailer.
Oh, I know the movie. Because if I'm not mistaken, this is why I wanted to Google it. If I'm not mistaken, this movie is one of the very rare, if not only, horror movie Disney ever produced.
Did Disney produce that?
If it's the same one, I think, yep, it is.
Wow.
It's technically a Disney movie.
I never even knew that. But that movie, that shook me from playing the game system late nights. Nice little minute.
Why do you think I stick with safe ones like poker and blackjack?
Hey, I started dreaming about losing my life save.
I'd be like, "Hit me again." Like, not like that, asshole.
Make me want to go to the casino now.
But there's some movies like I haven't seen a lot of them, but there are some movies that I consider one and done. They fucked me up enough to where I don't need to ever see it again. Last House on the Left was one. Vulgar, another. And technically Vulgar isn't really, I would consider, a horror film. It's more of a, even though I guess I Spit on Your Grave is also considered horror, but it's kind of like I Spit on Your Grave where, and that's another one and done, where the character in question in Vulgar is a guy who decides to become a clown that performs at, like, say, bachelorette parties or whatever, does risque, he's there for adult entertainment, and he ends up getting hired by these three guys who basically rape him. And he goes back and he gets revenge. But Last House on the Left, though, that one fucked me up.
Which one is that?
I'm talking about the original. They did remake it.
Okay.
The original was these two girls want to go to a concert. They bump into these four people, hang out with them, and the four people force them. I don't know if one of the four was not into it so much, because I think he did try to help the one girl in the movie. But basically, the three, we'll say that, forced the two girls to basically accost each other. And then the other one, they force her to pee herself and then pretty much disembowel her. It is a fucked up movie. And I happened to watch that because I'm more of a night owl than Amanda is. So she had gone to bed, and I made the stupid ass mistake of popping that bad boy in. Could not go back to sleep after that. I put in every Disney movie I could fucking find in our collection to get that to cleanse the palate, and it wasn't working. That still stuck in my head, and I will never watch those types of movies ever. If I might stumble upon it on accident, like when we went to go see the remake of The Hills Have Eyes. I didn't realize what's going to happen. She had seen The Hills Have Eyes, but she's like, it's a remake. I mean, what are the odds they're going to go shot for shot? The odds were pretty damn good. But those type of movies, much like you said, Twister and Dante's Peak and all that, movies that have a hint, even a hint of possible happening, scare me more than the Jasons and the Freddys, anything like that. I mean, if you run into a 6'5" guy in a hockey mask that looks like he's decomposed, please introduce me, because that's a unicorn right there.
In the world of masks, and they make them all kind of ways.
Oh yeah,
so you never know who amongst you.
Exactly. I mean, I've got, well, obviously, besides this little charming little apparel,
I know where to find you.
Exactly. But I have so many masks. To me, this is, if anything positive can be said about the pandemic, it gave me an excuse to wear masks. Because I love wearing masks. Not because I think I'm goofy looking or anything. I just love wearing masks. Everyone else is like, I can't breathe. This sucks. And I'm just like, you know. My favorite, though, is I got from Harry's Army Surplus.
Okay.
Can only wear it for a few seconds, though, because I don't know how to open the filter up, and it doesn't even have the filter, to be fair.
Okay.
But you can't breathe in it for more than 5 seconds. It's that tight on your face. It's a gas mask.
Okay.
And I came into work, and I stood by the window. This one lady I know, she's at her station. I'm just standing there staring at her, be like, yeah.
Okay.
And
I'm glad they're still open.
Oh, yeah. And matter of fact, they got a huge sign, gas masks back in stock. So, you know, people are clearing their ass out. But I'm standing at that window just waiting for this woman to turn around. Meanwhile, turning blue. Like, turn around, turn around, turn around. And finally she turns around and I just went, bam! Scared the shit out of her. But, yeah, I the whole Jason hockey mask, like, if you, they sell out fast, but see if I can pop it up. There is a place, Tom Savini has a company, and I don't think he's just the only one that owns it, but he has another guy that I think runs it, where they sell like half masks, different design half masks, where the majority of it is Jason. They can't say it's Jason, they just say hockey mask, but you know who it is. But they also have the Hannibal Lecter half mask. They have Skull half masks, Zombie half masks, which I think they're sold out of right now. But can you imagine walking into, say, a bank wearing a mask? You're not supposed to. Because I remember I walked into a liquor store once wearing my costume, and it was a full costume. They're like, you got to take the mask off. Well, now you can't tell people to take a mask off.
Yeah, so vulnerabilities.
Yep. So now I don't want to say this is a robber's wet dream, but it kind of is.
Yeah, it is. It's definitely a wet dream. If not that, it's at least a fetish.
Oh, yeah. Although I would say my love for masks aren't exactly a fetish per se. It's just, kind of,
the people that need them.
I think for me, it's kind of one, especially right now, because I got that healing bone graft. So I got the big old gap between the teeth.
Okay.
So it does spare me, even though I got my implant in right now. Just not, it's one I can remove at the ready. But basically, it's just like, say for instance, because if you work in a factory, and a lot of people in factories know what I'm talking about, you got all that dust and particle in the air and all that stuff, you will get like mad acne. Even if you wash your face religiously.
Not even half. You blow your nose, you realize how much you inhale.
Exactly. Or if you got to sneeze, you got to do this. You got to stay constantly just freaking covered. And it makes a lot of things difficult. But yeah.
Like I'm one step away from wearing another job.
Yeah. People who got ridiculed before, who's laughing now? I mean, but yeah, I'm going to show you real quick just a sample of some of their masks. They are expensive as fuck, though. They're like $70. And for an extra 30, you can get Tom Savini, the guy who created the original Jason and the part 4 Jason, to autograph it for you. I'm thinking if I'm wearing this in public, I'm not going to have that run the chance of getting that autograph smeared.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is all of their half masks. Well, of the Jason ones, and then
Are they fabric or are they using like a silicone or something?
I believe it's a hard shell.
Okay.
And they have a pocket in there to put in for like a fabric filter or like a. I think if you do fabric, you can go that way as well, but you can also put in like those filters that people use, like in I want to say turtle tanks, kind of like.
Yeah, you could just honestly.
And then here's a couple of the other ones: the zombie and the skull.
That red skull, pretty sweet.
Yeah. And they sell out of these things quickly too. But yeah, I'm just like, holy shit, man, $70. So that thing better not only get rid of any chance of getting the coronavirus, but
you know what though? It's funny because you think about it. We put these masks on, not the ones that we wear on the daily, but these Halloween masks on specifically around Halloween time.
Mm-hmm.
How do the companies like this stay up all year round? Even the ones that have storefronts, the Party Cities when they used to have costume all year round, or Halloween USA, they used to have them where there's be all year round. The fireworks, they have stores all year round, like
Phantom and all that.
Yeah, it's like, where's this niche? Like, how do you?
I'm not entirely sure. I know a lot of companies, I'm not saying the fireworks specifically, but maybe along the lines of what you're saying, like the ones that do the costumes and all that stuff. This kind of opened them up to adapt, because a lot of companies, like if you've gone into like your retail stores, it's not unusual now to see a 10-pack of masks not too far from a 10-pack of socks. They adapt because they see that there is a need for it. Like in case of such as this one, I think it's pronounced, if you guys want to look it up, Calisum Studios. If I'm mispronouncing it wrong, you can find either under Tom Savini's page or Baking Jason on Baking what, Jason? Baking Jason on Instagram. They have links to the website on their Instagram pages, but a lot of places have adapted to make up for what they originally could sell and now can't, by adapting and creating things that they can. Like when this shit first started and stores were closing down, there was a lot of distilleries opening back up because while they couldn't make their beer, they could make sanitizer.
Mm.
So it's all about kind of like a Marine credo. You overcome, you adapt, and you succeed, more or less. And that's how some of these companies, I think, are rolling. Like the whole thing with Party City. I haven't been in Party City in a couple of years. I wouldn't be shocked if they don't have something for the N90, not just necessarily the N95 mask, but any mask.
N95.
Exactly. You go on to places like Etsy, like on the web, Etsy. You got people that are making different half masks and whatever to sell, and probably making a killing.
I was gonna say that's a good niche, because you gotta think, this is a pandemic. This is something that as much as you are being sold on the fact that the coronavirus is going to go away, realistically, it's not. It's here forever. And you have the choice if you're going to protect yourself, even when they do lift this executive order of mask. Like, this is something that you're going to always need.
Right.
So, I mean, I think it's a smart thing to do, especially at, like the characteristics with Jason, stuff like that, them themed ones. I think everybody should be trying to do something like that.
Yeah. And they're judging from just looking when all this started, because it was difficult. People were having a hard time just getting a mask, even a cloth one. They were telling you to make, get a bandana and put it around. And that's when the light bulb lit on a lot of these people. I can make these masks and sell them and get them to them, cheap. And now companies are catching on and jumping on the bandwagon. But like you said, right now, the demand for that is not going away.
Oh, no.
It is not by any stretch of the imagination.
No, that's quality.
Yeah.
Quality, supply, demand.
Even if it's not the best quality, any form of protection is better than no protection. Because I can speak from recent events. There are people out there that had this mentality. They're immune. And guess what? Karma came and went, no, you're not. Gee, who am I talking about? Whom am I talking about, Donnie? And to round things out, because I have a mini rant based on politics, let's talk about the debate. Because I honestly did not watch any of the debates, not even the town halls. I see like the little clips. And I'm going to tell you something right now. I kind of wish Donnie's handlers did not look at him and say, you need to be a softer, kinder Donald, because you made yourself look like a horse's ass on that first one, and you made him look real good. And then in the second one, comparing Biden to Mr. Rogers, it's like, dude, you do realize Mr. Rogers was a fucking Marine, right? You're not doing yourself any favors with that comparison.
See, I fell asleep. Like, I started watching it. I had to stream it on YouTube. With the live, when it went live, and I started to fall asleep as soon as he's, when he started talking. When they said, when the mediator was saying, you have this much time to talk about it, 2 minutes uninterrupted. He jumped right in.
The minute they took their finger off the mute button.
And I was like, oh, this motherfucker about to say some crazy. Excuse my language. But he about to say something crazy. As soon as he said, I am healing from corona, no, he called it the corona from China.
Because
he did that, I was like, oh my God, here we go again. It's just, I don't know. Don't get me wrong. I salute him as a businessman.
And he's not a very good businessman at that.
He's not a good businessman, but I respect his grind and his hustle, because nobody truly knows outside of that this was his dad's inheritance, of where this money came from, how he maintained this money, and for him to be as empty-minded as he is to make it this far.
Right.
So either he's just one good of a con artist, or
I'm going to say, I don't even have to hear the second one. Con artist. Con artist. Yeah, you hit it right with that one. Con artist.
Because I think that Gregory is right. I think it's two different Trumps.
But yeah, I kind of missed, just from the highlights alone, the blah 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 blah, and just will you shut the hell up, man? That's what I missed. It almost seemed like, even though we all wanted the mute button, I kind of missed it. I kind of fucking missed it.
Yeah, it makes it entertaining.
It doesn't make me want to vote for the fucker anymore, but it was just like, are you on some sort of downer, Donnie? Wake up, man. Wake up.
But then that just makes me feel like, now that they are giving him the mute button and things like that, is more so in the favor of him. I think they want him to go another time. Like I've never, like I walk outside of my door. I stay in the trailer community.
Uh-huh.
So
you get to see all the Trump signs.
there's Trump Pence signs every single lawn going around the whole house.
Which I find that so fucking ironic. I really fucking find that so ironic. Because I was thinking the other day, because on my drive I see a lot of Biden signs and I see my share of Trump signs. And the one that boggled me the most, besides the Black Voices for Trump, because I'm thinking
I've never seen that.
Ford and Wayne. That's where it is.
Ford and Wayne.
Ford and Wayne. Unless I took it down, but it was there the other day.
I'll ride past it later.
It was on the, if I'm remembering correctly, it was on the southeast corner of Ford and Wayne. They might have taken it down, but I saw it and went, "Are you fucking for real? You do realize it's the guy who took out the full page ad about the Central Park 5, right?" But I digress. But the one that boggled my mind was seeing a Trump Pence sign in a dilapidated trailer. And I just looked at it, while I was at the traffic light and just thinking to myself, you do realize this motherfucker doesn't give a shit about you, right? He's about ready to take if there's one thing I can always say about and this is in the negative about Obamacare, which I thought was stupid. Don't call it Obamacare. It's called the Affordable Care Act. Now you're making it sound like he's narcissistic. But if there's one thing I didn't like about it is penalizing people for a choice. They didn't want it, so you penalized them for it. That didn't, to me, that was fucked up. If you want it, fine. But if you don't want it, and again, I'm sure my Canadian friends who have the free healthcare system can explain it a little bit more, but they have that automatically taken out of their taxes, whether they want it or not, because it's part of their fucking thing. But if it was automatically taken out, whether, we wanted to or not, because we have taxes taken out no matter what.
I don't know where they go.
Exactly. But the whole point is, if you don't want it, don't penalize them for it. You're already taxing them technically for it, so fuck it. Don't penalize them further. That's the thing I never liked about it. But to have this guy try to go in and say, well, I'm going to get rid of it because he has such a hard-on for trying to be better than Obama, because Obama embarrassed him at a correspondence dinner one year. He has such a hard-on to get revenge that he doesn't realize it's not really called Obamacare. Republicans called it that to try to dismiss it and shoot it down. Its real name is the Affordable Care Act, and it's called that for a reason. Now, going into the mini rant, all right? Not too long after I get married is the election, all right? It's the Tuesday after I get married. Now, I had already voted. Both me and Amanda already voted in the absentee ballot. And I see a couple articles here and there, hard to avoid them, where it almost looks like they're neck and neck in spots. And this is through the mail-in ballot that Trump fought so hard to not allow. Okay? And I think the reason why he did it is because, like any fucking good villain, you try to make people do the opposite of what you want them to do so they can support you. You make yourself look like a victim and say, well, if you allow mail-in balloting, the Democrats want you to do it because it's going to look bad for me. And then you got the person who's so blinded by his bullshit, they'd be like, well, I'm going to use it to your advantage, sir. I'm going to vote for you. Okay? Because people despite facts thrown in their face. And I will admit, sometimes I'm so blinded by my hatred for him, I'm blinded by some facts too. But the facts I get blinded by are the PP tape, stuff that doesn't really matter at the end of the day. But cold facts, like he requested an absentee ballot, yet he's saying it's illegitimate, then what the fuck are you doing?
He told people to vote twice, then.
Yeah. He says, if you think your mail-in vote didn't take, go in and do it. If they ask you if you already voted, just, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Fib. That's a lie right there. Saying things out loud as a hypothetical, to the point where a company like Exxon has to go on record and say, this never happened, it was a joke, ha, 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 tee, hee, hee. But what I want to get to is I finally listened all the way through to a book that was written not that long ago by Anonymous. And no, not the remember the 5th of November, which is ironic that the election is not too far from November 5th, by the way. But it was written by a alleged senior official in the Trump administration. No one knows who this is. Okay? People speculated it was Pence. People speculated it was Lindsey Graham. Some even suspected it was the turtle, Mitch the bitch. But the thing is, no matter who Anonymous is, if you listen to the whole book or read the whole book, I usually listen to it when I'm at work. But if you listen to it and you see all the stuff that went on, and I hate to say it, the pussified nature of the Republican Party. Because you got people who, when Trump was going for election the first time around, the same ones back then who said, I would never support that man, I would never do this, I would never do that, are now the ones who are kissing his ass so much that they go through about 5 tubes of chapstick a day. I'm looking at you, Lindsay. I'm looking at you, Ted Cruz. I mean, it just boggles the mind that they decided to take an oath of silence versus action because they're afraid that something Trump will tweet will affect their chances of re-election. Because I'm not saying this of all Republicans, because mind you, folks, if you're paying attention, I am not a Democrat and I am not a Republican. I go for who I think will do the better job. But you got a freaking party, by this guy's own admission, took a more passive-aggressive approach of trying to, they couldn't stop him totally from making decisions, but what they could try to do is, steer him away by distracting him. He's in the biggest job in the country. Fuck, in the world, as they like to say. I don't see how the President of the United States job is like the job on the planet when I'm thinking to myself, I think a lot of dictators would beg to differ, but whatever. But the whole thing is you're in the biggest job. You're responsible for the lives of everybody in the country. That you make stupid comments emboldening the Proud Boys, emboldening white supremacists, emboldening anti-Semitics, anti-transgenders. And by you don't read, you don't want to be bothered with anything unless it has one page of wording and just pictures. You rather be right than ever admit you're wrong. This is not a leader. And to have the Republicans go in silent, passive-aggressive protest I want to know who this anonymous is because he is so impassioned, and clearly he is a history student, that he cares about the country greatly, but not enough to stand up face to face against who he or she deems to be acting in a tyrannical manner. If you really cared about your country, you would stand up to it. I may not have been a big Mitt Romney fan, but I had to give him props for standing up to Trump. I had to give him some props because even he said during the impeachment, this is not what a leader should be. Period. And you will not see too many Republicans doing that right now. They're starting to slowly come around because they kind of see the writing on the wall that the more this guy is sitting in the Oval Office, the more democracy keeps going in the toilet. And I know they keep saying that you got to vote like your life depends on it. This is the biggest election in our lifetime. They said that in 2016 too. But this one honestly feels like it because I never really paid that much attention to politics. I was a casual observer.
That's pretty much me. I hear it as it comes to me.
Mm-hmm. But when he got into office, I was just like, you got to be fucking kidding me.
Like, this what politics is? Let me fill out an application.
Yeah, I mean, I've done some stupid things, but nothing on the grand scale of this motherfucker. And then you got Rudy Giuliani playing with his nuts with what he appears to be a 15-year-old. I watched the video, Rudy. You were not adjusting your shirt. You were asking for her number, dude. Someone you were told was 15 years old. Why are you asking for her number, Rudy? Be honest.
It's that whole piece of dick foundation.
But the thing I took away, the strongest thing I took away from this book, and this is why I'm telling you that I know this guy's a student of history, and I'm imploring him, please come out. If any, the week before the election, please come out. Come out of the closet, if you will. Is at the very end of the book, he brought up a very stirring tale. Have you ever heard the expression, let's roll? Have you?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
I shook my head.
I'm talking to you, but I'm talking to everyone. But in that one, I was talking to you. What does let's roll mean to you?
Let's roll. Like, come on, let's go.
Okay.
Let's get it done.
All right. So I'm going to share just a brief story. I got it queued up here. It's a story about a man named Todd Beamer, who was a family man. He was deeply religious. And Mark Bingham, who was a gay man. He was a PR executive and a sportsman. Okay, two different guys. But they happened to be at the same place at the wrong time. And it happened to be on a flight on 9/11.
Mm.
And when they were on the plane that would end up crashing in a field in Pennsylvania, everything was unfolding. They got all these guys shouting at them in broken English, you know, we're going to take this flight and you need to sit down, blah, blah, blah. And these guys were sitting there with other passengers. And it was slowly coming to them what was going on. Hearing about the planes crash into the towers, hearing about the plane crash into the Pentagon. These two men from completely different spectrums got together with some other passengers and started formulating a plan that they were not going to be part of a terrorist missile and cost more lives. If they had to die trying, they were going to stop these terrorists. And Todd Beamer got on a phone with a woman in Chicago. And the woman who took the call says it changed her life, basically. And I'm going to try to read this even though I don't got my glasses on. He relayed to her what they were about to do. and to please contact his wife and let her know that he loved her. Last thing I guess his wife ever heard was this woman telling her the story. And then when they got back, more or less, how these, and this just shows you how dumb these terrorists are, that these guys got together, were able to, converse with each other to describe what they were about to do. The last words out of Todd Beamer's mouth, along with Mark Bingham, was "let's roll." They got their plan together, looked at each other, said those 2 words, "let's roll." And they stormed the cockpit and took over the plane that crashed into that field on 9/11. Now, for everyone else that's possibly listening right now, possibly watching on Facebook or YouTube, I want you to close your eyes for just a few seconds or a few minutes. I'm a bit long-winded. And I want you to remember something. Whether you're old enough to remember or not, I want you to remember how you felt as the word was coming in about what was going on that day. When the first plane went into the World Trade Center, when the second plane hit, when the plane hit the Pentagon, when the towers fell, and then you heard about a plane crashing into a field. For a while, this country was as united as it could be. We were all afraid, but we were all looking out for each other. It didn't matter who you were, what you looked like, if you're a religious family man or a gay man that was an executive. You got together, went and looked out for each other, and in the face of adversity, you said, "let's roll." Just like those men did. And then something along the way happened. We started playing into fear. We started looking at our neighbor with a side eye because they didn't think like we thought. We started looking at this other person because they were Muslim. And wasn't it Muslims that went into the towers? So they all must be our enemy. Our fears took over. And now we got people playing on those fears. People saying, if you don't you don't have to wear that mask. Why should you be afraid of something that could kill you? Something that even if you get, you'll recover from, but the scientists are wrong. The scientists are lying to you. Forget the fact that the scientists are the ones who try to warn you. You got a guy who said, I didn't want to panic the country. So the best way to protect the country is to hide everything from them. Hide the truth. I'm not going to sit here and tell you how to vote. I said this a long time ago. There are people who already have it in their heads about how they're going to vote. The important thing you need to do is vote. Even though George Carlin said years ago, voting is pretty much a useless pastime because companies run the country, not presidents, not congressmen, not senators, companies, because they all care about the buck. They don't give a fuck about you. Well, you know what? I think it's time we take the control back. And the only way to take that control back is fucking taking a piece of paper and marking a little black circle that says who you think will do the better job. If you want to vote for that fucking waste of air in the White House right now, that's your prerogative, because that's what those guys did when they stormed the beach of Normandy, when they fought the British well more than decades ago, back in the 1700s. It's what we all fought each other against back in the Civil War. We fought against each other, we had different ideals and we fought each other. But guess what? We ended up uniting again, because that's what we do. The military fights for your right, for that privilege to vote. If you think that Donnie is the best man for the job, I'm not going to sit here and tell you you're stupid. I'm not going to sit here and try to change your mind. But what I do want you to do is to sit and think of those two words. Let's roll. Because there were people from different walks of life on that plane that looked past politics, looked past personal beliefs, looked past everything to save the lives of many at their own and cost of own lives. And they did it by saying two words. Let's roll. So when you get that absentee ballot, when you stand in that line waiting to cast your vote, I want you to remember Todd Beamer and Mark Bingham and the rest of the flight passengers of Flight 93, because they helped bring a country in a way by sacrificing themselves, by forgetting how different we were, and coming together against all odds. And that's what this country was all about. Not tweeting about Sleepy Joe, not tweeting about little fat Rocket Man, not spending more time on a golf course than trying to protect this country. Yeah, I know it sounds like I'm being a little biased, but I think I have every right to be, because I've watched in 4 years this son of a bitch almost systematically destroy and divide the country I love. And I didn't even really care for Bush. I know how ironic that sounds coming from a lesbian. But the fact is, I would rather take George Bush Jr. any day than another fucking minute of Donald Trump. So you go, whether you find it to be useless or not. This is your chance to voice your opinion, to voice your thoughts of who you think is the person for this fucking job. And all I can say to end it, in all honesty, come that Tuesday, let's roll. And that's where I'm going to end it. I'm going to see you guys in 2 weeks as a newly married woman, I guess. Woohoo! Let's just hope the honeymoon lasts long. I'm just joking. But I will see you guys in 2 weeks. Hopefully Crystal will be back. And until then, instead of ending it in the way I normally do, I'm just going to end it again with something I can't say enough of, because that story hit me hard. If you need to do it, Google it. The story it will plug at your heartstrings. But I'm going to end it. I've been Dawn. That's been Cortez. America, let's roll.